Hey, everybody, welcome to Football Night New York Living Room Edition, Schedule Edition. The schedule is now out. Jonah Schwartz, happy to be with Jeane, Coakley, and Ralph Vacchiano. And we have some really big news with the schedule now being out. And let's start by showing you the Giants schedule. We'll get to the Jets schedule and Janae's conversation with Adam Gase a little bit later. But let's start with the Giants schedule. And boy, a tough start. They begin on a Monday night, the early Monday nighter against the Steelers at home. Then they travel to Chicago to play the Bears, come back to play the Niners in East Rutherford, go out west to play the Rams, then the Cowboys at home, and then they also host the Redskins. But boy, those first 5 games are really tough. Then a trip to Philadelphia. How about a game against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers? Washington again, the Eagles right before a bye week in Week 11, Joe Burrow and the Bengals in Week 12. How about a trip out west? What a tough place to play in Seattle. And then Arizona and Cleveland at home before a trip to Baltimore on December 27th. And they wrap things up with the Cowboys. Right off the bat, Ralph, what strikes you about that schedule for the Giants?
Well, the brutal start jumps out at me because overall, based on last year, the Giants' schedule is pretty easy. Their opponents had a winning percentage of .482 last year. There's only 4 teams on their schedule that made the playoffs last season. So you would think, oh, maybe things are a little easy. But then you get that first stretch and you think about a brand new coach, new offense and new defensive systems coming off an off season where it's been virtual learning and no chance really. We don't know how much of a training camp there'll be. Certainly looks like there'll be not much of an off-season program. Already the Giants and any team with a new coach is at a disadvantage. And now out of the gate, they just have a brutal stretch. It does not set them up well to get off to a fast start in the Joe Judge era.
And by the way, who knows what's going to happen with the preseason. So Joe Judge walks into the first 5 weeks, which are brutal, maybe not even having played a preseason game under the most unusual of circumstances. I mean, Ralph, that's as tough as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, it was never going to be easy for him to begin with. I'm sure they were hoping that there would be some sort of soft landing at the beginning. Really, I mean, you look at the first 2 games, the Steelers and the Bears, 2 teams that didn't make the playoffs last year. But remember, the Steelers presumably will have a healthy Ben Roethlisberger. That will make that game look a little differently. They have a few games like that, games that should be, based on record, should be easy. But, you look at their game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, they're much different now with Tom Brady going down there. So none of this is easy for Joe Judge. And who knows what the summer's going to look like for him, but he's going to have to kind of whip this team into shape very quickly because they can't really afford a slow start.
Let's switch to the Jets. Janae's happy. She's not going to Buffalo in December. She's going to Buffalo in September. She gets crushed, though, on the back end of this a little bit. We'll get to that in a second. So they start with the Bills, then the Niners at home, at Indianapolis, Denver on a Thursday night. Arizona comes to East Rutherford. Trip across country to play the Chargers, the Bills at home, the Chiefs in a brutally tough matchup. A rematch, New England Monday night. Sam Darnold and ESPN will remember that game very well. At the Dolphins, the bye week, the same week as the Giants, the week before Thanksgiving. Then the Dolphins again. So you got Dolphins before the bye, Dolphins after the bye. The Raiders at home. Boy, a trip out to Seattle, just like the Giants. Really tough place to play. Trip then out to the Rams, back-to-back weeks to the West Coast is really tough. Then home against the Browns. And, well, we thought Janae got the break weather-wise. Nope, she finishes up in Foxborough. Janae, before we get to your trials and tribulations with the ending in New England, Ralph, what's your take?
Well, it's a brutal schedule. We knew that going in. Their opponents last year had a winning percentage of .533. There are 7 games out of the 16 against playoff teams from last year. And honestly, when you go through it, it's really well spread out. And this is a new sensation for the last decade and a half. But when I was looking for a soft spot on the schedule, I kept coming back to the Patriots. And that's obviously something you can't count on. There's really no other soft spot in the schedule. I mean, every other week, there seems to be a team that is either up and coming or just coming off. I mean, they get both Super Bowl teams, playoff teams from last year. It's constantly tough. They will be challenged throughout.
It's funny, Janae, when you look at this schedule, it's a very challenging schedule, as Ralph says. What stands out to you?
Well, I just look in December. Like you said, Jenna, They have that fourth quarter They've got 3 of those games on the road, and 2 of them are out west. They got Seattle, and then they've got the Rams. I mean, that's going to be a brutal schedule to end this season. And like Ralph, you said, 4 teams played in the last 2 Super Bowls, including the champions, Kansas City. They're going to Arrowhead. And Jonas, why do we always have to end in cold weather? Why are we going to New England?
They want to keep you on your toes. That's all that is. But you're right. Look, brutal, the back-to-back trips out west. And then, by the way, the ending in New England, you don't think Bill Belichick will have whoever's playing quarterback whipped into shape by that point of the year in a game that might mean a lot to Adam Gase? Who knows? So, Jeane, is Gase feeling any pressure with the schedule now coming out as we get into this virtual offseason?
Well, it's funny you say that, Jonas, because I actually caught up with Adam Gase earlier on Thursday, and he said, you know what? I have to do what I have to do. We knew our schedule was brutal, but this is what he has to do. With so much uncertainty in our future and with the schedule being announced, as a coach, what are you looking forward to? Do you look at something? When the schedule comes out, are there certain games you notice, especially nowadays?
You know, I look at it. We already know who we were going to play before the schedule came out, and you know, it always is what it is. It's hard to look at and really think, hey, I predict this or this is going to happen, because you know, last year, if you would have told me, hey, Sam Darnold's going to miss 3 games with mono, I probably wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people would have believed you. When you look at a schedule, like you said, you already know the teams you're playing. You know you have a couple West Coast games, 3 West Coast games. Does that change the way you plan in the off season?
Well, our biggest focus is one day at a time right now. Really, if you're thinking past that, you're going to drive yourself a little loony. So, you know, we're trying to do a good job of just, you know, daily goals. You know, what are we doing today to get better? You know, things like that. That's really our biggest thing. We really want guys to just stay in the moment, understand, you know, the situation that we're in. You know, we're focused on, you know, when we have our meetings, it's, hey, we got a couple hours to get better here. Let's do that. What
have you seen from Sam? I mean, as much as you can see, like with the Zoom and the way the system's going right now.
Yeah, you can see that his confidence and knowledge of what we're doing is it's like tripled, or it's off the charts as far as where we were last year. Obviously, he just knows now. It's like it clicks for him so much better when he's watching in the film and saying, like, this is what I would have done here. I would have done this. I would have done this. And you know, when you're dealing with quarterbacks, these guys, they've watched this stuff so much that it could be a little choppy, and they know what it is. They know what they're looking for. They kind of a lot of times already know what we're looking to correct.
All right, Adam, I have to ask before we leave. Your son has mad skills on a Rubik's Cube. Now, is that from you? Are you that good? I mean, 11 picks?
That is not from me. That is not from me.
Did you know he was that good?
No, I wasn't. You think I wasn't paying attention to that? I was trying to listen to Joe. Things were moving quick, and you know, I'm trying to listen, and you know, all 3 of my kids were in there at one point, and they're all talking, and I'm trying to hear what Joe's saying. I'm trying to respond. I'm trying to tell everybody to be quiet. Then everybody left, and then he comes back in, and he didn't really say anything, so I wasn't really paying attention to him, you know, and he was just sitting there, and next thing I know, you know, my phone's blowing up, and people are like, what just happened?
I mean, he like stole the show. I'm sorry, but he did. That was really cool.
Yeah, he's a cute kid, man. He's like, so.
No, can you solve a Rubik's Cube?
No.
Not at all. Like, not even.
I quit after a while. I start doing it, and then I'm just like, this is pointless.
All right, well, Adam, I appreciate you taking the time. Stay safe, and maybe your son can get you some skills with the Rubik's Cube.
It'll take me too long. I'll get
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. All right, guys. It took Adam Gase's son 11 picks to solve the Rubik's Cube. How long has it taken you, Ralph?
I've been working on it now for about 20 years. Still haven't done it.
20 years, 40 years. For me, I couldn't do it in 1982. I can't do it now. But I'm just glad that he and I are on the same page technology-wise, because that's about as far along as I am, the Rubik's Cube. Guys, great stuff as always. We will be back next week with much more as we all digested the schedule for a good week by then, and as we get into this virtual off season. For Ralph Vacchiano, Jeane Coakley, I'm Jonas Schwartz. Thanks for watching.